I do love talks, I do love hearing from people, but I actually really love panel discussions because I think you get a sense of the people. There's a bit more of a free-flowing conversation. So again, if you're watching online, do get involved. If you're listening, do think of any questions that you've got to give our lovely panellists. So obviously, you guys are all really important because you're the employers, you're the people who are here today supporting this event and really understanding and identifying that mental health and emotional well-being is so important for students and for graduates and how you connect with them. First of all, can we just go around and can you just introduce yourselves, what you do, where you're from, and why you're here today, why you think it's so important to be here today? So maybe we'll start at the end.
Cool. So I'm Chelsea. I'm the early careers lead at Skyscanner, so I look after the graduate program, anything to do with early careers. And yeah, I'm here today because mental health at Skyscanner in general is really important to us. We have loads of initiatives in place. We have teams that look after like just this part of Skyscanner. So yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Chelsea.
Hi everyone, my name is Ellie Long. I look after all of our global inclusive hiring at Rolls-Royce. A big part of my world is early careers, attraction and recruitment, hence why we're here today. And it brings me a lot of pride to say that we're the headline sponsor and that Rolls-Royce as a global brand is committed to supporting the well-being, the mental health of our graduates, our students and all of our employees. But I think on a more personal note here as well, mental health has affected me, it's affected my friends, my family, and people that I know as well. And so it's something that it doesn't discriminate. It comes up in all sorts of different parts of your life. And so I'm really proud that as a global brand, we're taking this so seriously. And we know it's really important to your generation. And that's why we're here to not only talk about it, but to listen to you guys as well.
Thanks so much, Ellie. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Harpreet and I work for Ocado Group and my key role is recruiting and attracting across our early careers. So all of our graduate programmes, interns and apprenticeships. And like the lady said, for us at Ocado, mental health and wellbeing is so important. So yeah, super excited to be involved in this event.
Thank you so much, all of you, and thank you to all of your companies who have really committed to this and really recognise it as an important factor because that's kind of how we start change. So thank you so much. So I just want to start off by going back to some of the sort of stats and the data that we heard about right at the top of the morning from the civil data. So we know that there is a higher prevalence of poor mental health amongst young people with disabilities or who identify as LGBTQ+. I just want to hear from all of you, what are each of your organisations doing to support students within your workplaces and what sort of mental health provisions do you have in place more generally? Perhaps we'll start with you, Chelsea.
Cool. So at Skyscanner, we have loads of different networks that colleagues can join, and they provide like a safe space to like share knowledge and experiences with like each other, I guess. We also host loads of workshops such as like being anti-racist and have loads of guest speakers come in to share their experiences with us. We were also recently awarded what is that word now?
It's all right. We need some lunch, don't we?
Stonewall's Gold Award for LGBTQ+. So that was really, really special for us. There's a lot of work that went into that. What else do we do? We have loads going on. Do you want to go next? And I'll just come back.
Yeah, we'll come back, Ellie.
Give me inspiration. So, yeah, I think, and what you'll find, I think, with a lot of large global brands is they have something called employee resource groups. So these are groups that are a collection of employees that share a common trait or a common behaviour. So it might not necessarily be something just to do with diversity and inclusion. So that traditionally they offer things like women or for ethnicity, but we also have them for things like LGBT+, but also for people who are parents at work, people who may be carers, and they're really important to us because they not only are a community and a safe space for people to have these kinds of conversations and to draw down on support of people that may be going through or have gone through something similar and can share their experiences, but they're also really key for us and for people like myself in my role to have conversations with where we can learn and we can understand. So we do a lot with them from a recruitment perspective to understand how we can make our recruitment process more supportive for people that may be struggling or may need to share something and disclose something. The same with some of our processes and practices at work. And so, yeah, our employee resource groups are really kind of a key channel for us. The other thing that we've recently changed again, to really kind of put students at the heart of things and change how we allow you to share your stories with us, is throughout our application processes, we give you the opportunity to disclose where you might need support, where you might need help, and we don't frame it in terms of it has to be a disability or it has to fall under the Equality Act or whatever it might be. And you can have that safe conversation with a Rolls-Royce employee about what support or what it is that you might be going through, and again, how we can support and allow you to be yourself. So we've tried to kind of create this culture where you're able to share, where you're able to talk, and it feels like a two-way dialogue, and it doesn't feel like actually I've got to tick a box and I've got to be treated slightly differently, because everyone will need support or help or something in whatever way that might be.
I love that. And like you say, kind of that it is a relationship, isn't it, between employer and employee, and actually any relationship is a two-way sort of traffic system, isn't it, where both parties need to listen to each other. So I think it's great that you're listening to people and actually what they need, but in that kind of safe way. So thank you. Great. Yes.
There's quite a few things we do here at Ocado Group. So one of those is we have a number of different employee networks. So I think we've got around 8 at the moment that focus on various different things, and one of those is health and well-being. So it's kind of a space in those networks for people to connect, voice opinions, and really create change in the business so we can make that leap forward. You know, we've got a long way to go as a business, but it's making that step forward, I guess. The other thing that we also have is health and wellbeing champions. So that's a peer-to-peer kind of support that we have, where if you do feel like you need support with your health and wellbeing, you've kind of got that support in the business. So we have a number of different wellbeing champions, and that's on a global scale as well. We also have an employee assistance program. That's really dear to me because it helped me as well when I had some challenges. But again, that's a confidential program that you can use and turn to if you feel like you do need that support. And like the lady said as well, like we also, within our recruitment process, if you do need support in any area, you just connect with one of your recruiters, and we're there to support you to say, do you need support through the process, and what kind of support does that look like? And we have various different awareness days where we celebrate differences or really put a focus on various different things, like Global Inclusion Week, International Women's Day. So just kind of putting that on the scale in terms of what we want to do, and we want to kind of put that out there, that we do celebrate those differences, and we want to kind of make that a thing within Ocado, that we celebrate all of those and put a focus on those as well.
Thank you so much, Harpreet. And I was going to say, Chelsea, I was going to come back to you, Chelsea.
We also make adjustments through our interview process. So I think it's really cool that a lot of companies are doing that now. We also have a free employee assistance program that's available to everyone that offers like free mental health support for either work-related or not work-related. Subscription to Headspace, which I think was mentioned earlier. We also have, I don't know if this would really, actually, no, I do think it's important. So part of our accessibility team, we host regular empathy labs in all our offices, which basically lets employees at Skyscanner go in and experience what it's like to use our product with a disability. So whether that's like not being able to read, or not read, like see, so like a visual impairment, or like there's just loads, like if you can't use one of your arms, for example, so we're able to like simulate what those people would be feeling while using our product, and we host them in all our offices so that we can experience, I guess, what other people are experiencing.
Amazing, thank you so much. That's incredible, actually. I had no idea that all of those were available. As a GP, I often see people coming in, with stress or ill health related to work, and work is a massive part of our lives and our careers and our jobs and how we feel about ourselves. So I'm really aware of that link between mental health and emotional well-being and employers and culture in the workplace, I suppose. It's obviously really important that we all kind of live our values, and I think that's the same for brands and companies and employers. How would you define the culture in your organisation, and what do you kind of do to encourage a positive, happy culture, and how would you kind of describe that, I suppose, to a student or someone who might be thinking about joining one of your organisations? Maybe Harpreet, we'll start with you.
No worries. So one of our key values is we're in it together. So for us, it's definitely around that collaborative working. You're not by yourself. It's definitely not a blame culture. So I have graduates who work in my team, and that's one of the things that they always talk about when they talk about Ocado, that they love that we're in it together, that you do feel like you're working as part of a bigger team, and everyone makes mistakes, and that's okay. And, you know, Ocado has grown through making mistakes and getting better. So I think for us, that's one of the biggest things, is that we're in it together. It's okay to make mistakes. We all learn through that. So that for us, that's one of the biggest.
That's good, yeah. Open transparency, like you say, kind of, there's no top down. We're very much kind of learning together.
Yeah, it's definitely not, it's a non-hierarchical business. So, and another thing is around kind of, everyone's opinions kind of matter as well. Like, we encourage everyone to come forward with their ideas. So that's definitely one of those.
Brilliant, thank you. Ellie?
Yeah, so I think I'm actually going to steal something that one of our graduates has said on, we launched an Early Careers podcast this week, and I was listening to it last night, and it was something that she said, and she said that she had this preconception, I think, of what Rolls-Royce was like before she joined, and I'm sure probably a lot of people think we're a British brand, we're a luxury brand, we stand for prestigious products and services, and that is all absolutely correct, but that is certainly not reflected in our people. And she kind of had this preconceived idea of what a Rolls-Royce employee would look like, and she's not found anyone yet that's matched that mould since she's been here. And I think that was quite powerful for me to hear, because there's something about our organisation that everyone is unique, and that is really valued, and everyone has a strength and a quality that they can bring, and we want people to come to work as their whole authentic selves and their true selves, and I think that's really reflected in our values and how we are set up as an organisation, and how our graduate programmes and our traineeship programmes are set up, because we want people to feel that they can come to work, they don't have to have a mask, they don't have to be someone different, they can be their real individual self, and that's valued and that's important. And so our culture really allows people to be able to do that. We're very collaborative, we're very agile, we allow people to play to their strengths, and that's why we value things like neurodiversity. We value people being able to share the good and the bad things about their lives, because that's what makes you who you are. And that allows you to then be at best and to be successful. So yeah, and you'll hear hopefully from some of our graduates later today about what it is really like. But we're a really authentic organisation, and so if you're having a bad day and you come to work having a bad day, that is absolutely okay. There's support there for you. And if you're coming to work having a great day and you want to celebrate and share successes, we'll equally be there for you, because you spend so much of your time at work. It's quite shocking when you think how long it is until we all have to retire. You want to be in a place where you're going to be happy and you can be yourself, because otherwise it gets very tiring having to mask doing that. And so yeah, I'm really proud to say that I work for an organisation that allows you to do that.
Yeah, that's incredible. And we're going to hear from, like you say, some of the graduate employees later this afternoon as well, which is brilliant. And I think, like you say, it's what's always struck me is kind of just been common sense. I'm quite a simple person, actually, but what's always struck me about this common sense is that, you know, a happy employee is a happy employer, and vice versa. And actually everybody benefits in terms of people staying on in that role, staying on in that company, giving their all, giving their best, and likewise, you know, the employer getting all that individuality and all of that talent out of that person who's working for them. So I'm a big fan of that, and I'm a big fan of things like tea and coffee and biscuits and all those kind of things, which people often say to me, oh, yeah, that's a small thing, Rada. I'm like, no, it's not a small thing. That's what makes people feel valued, that's what makes people feel happy, and that's what makes people feel like they want to stay on and give their best. So it's in everyone's interest, really, isn't it? Fantastic, thank you so much. Yeah, and Chelsea, what about you?
Skyscanner, honestly, is the most exciting, fun, innovative place that I've worked.
Let's all go there, you sold that really well.
Yeah. I feel okay. I mean, I've only worked at like 3 or 4 places, but it's amazing, and I think it's really hard to not fall in love with the culture at Skyscanner. We've had a good few people who have left and returned to the business down to its culture, and like there's loads of support, there's loads of room to grow. Our CTO joined straight out of university over 10 years ago, and he's obviously still with us now, the CTO. I think there's a lot of transparency from the top down. Our leaders are very visible and accessible, and like one of our core values is that we treat everyone with empathy, respect, and care always. And that's definitely more than just a phrase at Skyscanner. It's something that is lived daily. And it ties in with our value and our commitment to respect and, I guess, value everyone irrespective of their background or their identity. So it's an incredible place to work. Actually, yeah.
Yeah,
It's good.
thank you so much. Because like you're saying, in a workplace, it's not just, your relationship with the team around you. It's also how much kind of interest your employer is giving in terms of your own direction, isn't it, and progression, and actually kind of where you're going in your job. Because those of us who've been working know what it's like to feel stuck in a place or not to feel like you're progressing. And part of us moving forward and thriving and people kind of being interested in our talents, that's part of our self-esteem and our confidence, and that's part of our mental health. So I think sometimes when we, the words mental health is sometimes used when we automatically think of a diagnosis or a condition. I like to think of it as actually, part of who you are, and that includes self-esteem and confidence and happiness and finding your purpose and all those kind of things which add into our emotional well-being.
And the support that you're given, I think. Like, I joined Skyscanner to recruit software engineers because I've done it for 4 years. And a month into my role, this role in the early careers team reopened because it was on hold during COVID. I didn't think I'd get it, but I applied anyway. And I got it, and then I was like, holy shit, like, what have I done? How am I going to do this? I've never done this before. And there was just so much support, like, around me. Even, like, looking back, I don't actually think I realized then how much there was, which is quite a nice feeling to reflect on.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just interested for the people who are here, obviously face to face. Is kind of when you're thinking about jobs or applying for jobs or employers in future, is kind of their value system and how they approach mental health, is that a big thing for you in terms of whether you'd consider a job or not? Just maybe just raise your hand if it is a factor that you think about a lot. Yeah, we've got quite a lot of people actually saying that, and I think that's really encouraging, and I think it should be encouraged even more. So just a shout out to everyone here and everyone watching online at home. We'd love your questions. You've got 3 incredible people from incredible organisations here. So if you've got any questions, then do send them across on Instagram or on our platform and use the hashtag AllAboutYou22. And obviously people who are here in person, we're going to take some questions from you just after the next one. So do get involved in that. So just to kind of go back to how things have changed in terms of the workplace. Obviously, the pandemic was massive in terms of what changed, what had to change because of necessity, what we were all faced with doing and how we had to rapidly adapt and develop. And obviously now, there's a big push and a big move to, remaining hybrid, doing some work, on site in the office or wherever your workplace might be, as well as being at home and or in parallel. How have your organisations sort of dealt with that? How do they view that? And what is the impact, do you think, of that hybrid working on people's work-life balance? Because again, that is a massive key factor in terms of our mental health. Harpreet, maybe we'll start with you.
So at Ocado Group, we've gone to a more hybrid working, which I'm sure most businesses have now. We're not based in central London, we're based just outside central London, so a lot of our employees come from all over the place. So a lot of people took that on really, really well, and a lot of our students, actually, our graduates that we took on fairly recently, it just meant that they could be more flexible in terms of where they decide to live. So at Ocado Group, we kind of tend to work 2 days in the office, 3 days from home, but there is flexibility around that. We also offer kind of a policy around 30 days work from anywhere, so we launched that as well. That worked really, really well for people who had friends, family, or people who just wanted to work from anywhere in the world for 30 days. They could do that without using their annual leave, so that was an amazing incentive as well. Worked really, really well for quite a lot of people, so we also launched that. So that flexible working for us has just worked extremely well. Like, I just think having the flexibility to be at home, but then also being around people in the office works really well. And when we're in the office, we tend to work as a team. So, we're very much a culture that don't come in the office to sit there by yourself and work. Like, if we're going to be in the office, we be there as a team, and we'll kind of do our team meetings on that day, just so we can collaborate a little bit more. So, yeah, I mean, the feedback we've had from a lot of our students and graduates has been amazing. They love that flexibility and the diversity of being able to be in the office around people. I love talking, so I love it when I'm in the office to allow me to have coffees with people and stuff like that. But also the flexibility to be at home and not do that travel to come in. It just means that they can be a little bit more flexible. We're also a business, like, it doesn't matter if you log on at 9:03, 9:05, 9:10. Like, it's fine as long as everyone's doing their work and doing what they need to be doing. We're extremely flexible around that as well. So yeah, it's gone down really, really well. Like, I'm sure most employers have gone down this route, but for us, it has landed extremely well, especially with our student population.
Thank you. I think it also, it's important to recognise that we're all so different as well, aren't we, when it comes to hybrid working. Some people, really, really enjoy being in the office. Some people sort of less so. And it's the balance, isn't it, between what we all need. And also, like we were talking about before, if you have caring responsibilities, you've got other life pressures, other things going on at home, how can you balance that? And I think that hybrid working model is really good because it's almost bespoke and sort of tailored potentially to that individual, and that's why it works really well.
Yeah, I mean, some people in my team prefer to come in 5 days a week. The office is open and it's there for them. So, I think that's a really good point to make. It's kind of tailoring it to your needs as well. We have a guideline of what it should look like, but in essence, like, whatever works for you, really.
Well, I'm a talker as well, so I like being around people. Thank you so much. Ellie, maybe we'll come to you about that.
Yeah, I think fundamentally we're human, and so our nature is that we need to be around people, and I think that's what we all learned during lockdown. You want to have that human interaction, so there is definite value in coming into the office, and for those that know Rolls-Royce and Derby, it's like an absolute mini village. There's so many different places within Derby, within Scope you can go and work. We've created collaborative spaces, we've got hot desking spaces. There's kind of so many options depending on your style. I guess the challenge we have as an organisation, and I'll be quite honest about it, we're an engineering company at heart, we're a manufacturing company, we have shop floor staff and roles and opportunities, and so obviously you can probably imagine you cannot mould a fan blade at home, sadly, from your kitchen.
Why not?
We're not quite there yet with our technology. We have parts of our business that are under NDA, and you have to go through quite high levels of security clearance to work in, say, the submarines part of our business. Again, we can't kind of have that part of the business having the same level of flexibility, but what you will see is that where we can, we have adopted a really flexible approach, and I like to kind of talk about it in terms of flexible working rather than kind of hybrid, because actually it doesn't have to look the same every single week, it doesn't have to look the same for every single person, and it doesn't have to look the same throughout the day. So actually, if you work better in mornings from home because you don't like getting up in the morning and you want to travel in at lunchtime and then work from the office and work later into the office because that's a better style to work for you, that is absolutely fine, and that is okay. If you want to be there all 5 days a week, that is okay. If you want to do 2 days from one office and 1 day from over there, and that is equally absolutely okay. And so there's that level of how do you build work around your life, because sadly we don't all go to work because we love it. A lot of us go to work because we need to have a job, and actually it's the other stuff that we have that we love. We love the fact that we can go to the gym in the morning, or that we can do yoga, or that we can walk the dog. And so how do you build work around those other things that are more important to you? And I think that's the real shift and the real change that we've seen. Our graduates, and what we see from a lot of our graduate populations, they really want to be together, and so by creating those collaborative spaces, we've been allowed people to be able to do that. But again, it's what works for you and what works for you and your family, and I think that's what's really important, is finding an organisation that will allow you to have that flexibility. I won't name drop, but I was speaking to an organisation a couple of weeks ago, and they make it mandatory now for their employees to come in on a certain number of days a week, and they have to be in at a certain time, and it made me really sad because we've learned through COVID that actually we don't need to work like that. And people do want to come in, people want to be around people, but how do we set you up for that success so you can blend work into the rest of your lives? And that's certainly what we've now achieved, I think, as we've come out of COVID at Rolls-Royce.
I think also that sense of autonomy as well is really important, isn't it? That actually that's really important for our self-esteem, our confidence, our mental health, is to think, actually, yeah, I have this job and I've obviously got to do these things, but I also have a sense of autonomy and some choice, which I think is also really important. Thanks so much. Chelsea?
Pretty much exactly the same. So, I feel like I'm just going to be repeating things, but really flexible. We're in the office twice a week, and that is not set days. It's just dependent on when your team's going in. So you would try go in just to get that face-to-face time, but also more just working around like your life. Some people will leave at 3 p.m. to go fetch their kids from school. I have a dog. It's not a kid, but kind of a kid. So I'll just go in for like maybe until 2 o'clock and then head home, and you just kind of build your work around your life, and that's worked really well for us. So we have that in place. We also get like a home office allowance to help us set up our home office, just to set you up for success. And you can also spend a certain amount of time out of the country every year working from another Skyscanner office and from another country. It used to be called like home country something, so you'd like work from your home country because we have so many nationalities working at Skyscanner, but now it's been extended so you can just work anywhere in the world for a certain portion of the year. So we have that, and we have Skyscanner's extended annual leave policy, so you get 3 weeks off after 3 years of service in addition to your annual leave, and after 5 years of service an extra 5 weeks off in addition to your annual leave. I think having that sort of flexibility is really key, and I've worked fully remote before and it's really alienating, so getting that face-to-face time with your colleagues is super important.
I love the fact you can work from anywhere in the world, actually. Not just because it's interesting, exciting, but also you're kind of encouraging that cross connection between cultures and countries, and opening people's minds and kind of just understanding each other, which I think is really important as well. So
and the ability to go and see the other offices and how they work, like Barcelona or Shenzhen, and being able to go and spend time in those offices is really interesting and really key for us.
And to understand what they have to go through and what pressures they're
facing. And it's warmer. So.
Well, I was going to mention that, but thanks. So we've heard from you guys. We want to open up now for questions, because this is your chance to ask these 3 brilliant people anything that you want to, basically, about their businesses, their organisations, any questions about mental health and values, for example. So have we got any questions in the room? I think we've got a question over. Oh yeah, we've got a question at the back there.
So I'm actually a student right now, and hearing you guys, the first thing that students tend to do after their course completes, or while doing the course, is they start applying to companies. So I do understand that companies tend to have a safe environment for employees that are already working for the company, but how does your company promote safety and inclusivity for people who are applying, trying to apply to get a job? So how does this apply to the onboarding and recruiting process?
Thank you so much. It's a great question. I don't know who would like to go first on that.
I'll go for you.
Yeah, thanks, Ellie.
Yeah, brilliant question. And I think it's a really important one, because for me, we want you to be able to be at your best during that process. And it's really easy for me to sit here and say, don't be nervous, it's only an assessment centre, don't worry. But I know exactly how you'd feel, and people are nervous, and you worry about what you should disclose, what you should say, and everything. And so we've been through a journey over the past kind of 18 months where we have fully redesigned our end-to-end recruitment process, and every single touch point that we have with a candidate with the lens of how can we make sure you are at your best. So you're given the opportunity as part of the upfront application form and the upfront conversations that you have with the team to be able to disclose where you might need support. And that's a really open conversation. That's not just support in terms of the traditional sense of you might need 25% extra time for something. Actually, if you perform better in the morning than the afternoon, then let us know, because we can reflect how we then may interview you or contact you. If you'd rather contact through a certain method of communication, if you just need someone to help explain what you're meant to be filling in and what boxes in a form, someone can be there to help you do that. And so we've really looked at how we can set you up for success in that first part of the application process. Then as you go through that, our kind of, and I'm really proud of the fact that we only have 2 real stages of our application, our online kind of testing, and then the assessment centre. We've really stripped it back. As you go through those stages, how do we continue to allow you to be at your best? And the key for me is that we can teach someone at Rolls-Royce how a gas turbine works. We can teach you about what the different fan blades might do and kind of X, Y, and Z. What we can't teach you is your values and your behaviours and the things that are important to you. So the whole process has been set up to allow you just to actually be able to say, this is who I am, and do you know what, this is why you should have me, Rolls-Royce, not why we should be assessing you and why we should be trying to get all of this information out of you. How do you come into our process and just be yourself? So there's so many small little changes and tweaks that have hopefully, and I'm hoping that the students that go through the process this year will start to feel, because that process has become much more friendly and much more personable. We run assessment centres virtually now again because we find that's more comfortable for students. They're not long days, they're half a day assessment centres. There's networking involved in parts. You have a dedicated recruiter who kind of rings you and speaks to you and supports you. And so I really hope that whilst ultimately it's a process where you'll feel nervous, but it's a process where you can actually say, do you know what, I feel really nervous, can you help me with this bit? And we've created that space to be able to do it. The other thing we've done this year is we've given students the opportunity, those employee resource groups that I spoke about, you have the opportunity to talk to them as part of the recruitment process as well. So traditionally they're set up for existing employees, but actually as part of that process you'll have access to the contact information for our employee resource groups. And so if you wanted to have a confidential conversation that doesn't affect anything to your application form, it doesn't get fed back in any other way, shape or form to us, you can actually say, do you know what, I really want to talk to someone from PRISM, our LGBT plus, say, employee resource group, about what it really is like to work at Rolls-Royce, and to have a conversation with someone who feels a little bit more like me, and they can help me and they can support me. And so we've put that in place for this year, because ultimately there are so many brilliant students out there, and you're all so different, and we want you because you're all so different. And so we want you to be able to come into our application process and demonstrate that and be at your best and think, do you know what, this is an organisation where I can be myself and I want to be there. So everything has been designed and set up with that kind of in mind.
That sounds really good, because you're getting the best out of people, which is what everybody wants, isn't it? As opposed to terrifying people or making them so nervous or so scared that they can't perform to the best of their ability. So, Harpreet.
I mean, some of the similar things, to be honest. One thing I'm really proud of at Ocado Group is that communication and touch point before even the assessments take place. You'll have a video call with one of the recruiters in the team, and the recruiters that you'll speak to are graduates, so they're graduates on rotation in the emerging talent space. So they would have been through the process the year before, so it's just really encouraging that really open conversation. They've been through the process, they know what those nerves can look and really feel like. So that touch point for me is really critical, and it's something that I'm really, really proud of that the team do extremely well, is that touch point before the assessments. The communication that we send before they even take place, we've created videos around how to kind of be your best at doing video interviews. It's one of the stages before the assessment day that we have. So, our toolkits that we send out before the assessment day as well, I'm biased, but I think they're great. So there's loads of tools there, and you're constantly in communication with that recruiter. So, it's not one of those at no reply emails. You'll always have a contact throughout the process. On the assessment day itself, you'll have an opportunity to network with some of the graduates virtually as well. So you're able to confidentially have a chat with them about what it's really like to work at Ocado. So there's that networking opportunity there as well. But yeah, for us, it's really around that communication, that touch point, that open conversation throughout, the toolkits that we send so we can get the best out of you guys. And also that networking opportunity for you guys to have those really open conversations. And that's even after the assessment day, right, while you're waiting for a decision to be made. If you think of things afterwards and you want that safe space, there's the recruiter on the other side of the phone, or you can arrange a video call with them to discuss those elements. So yeah, fairly similar, but yeah, I'm really proud of what we do to kind of help you be your best, I guess, on that day.
Yeah, and so useful to actually speak to people who have been there and done that, because then it just gives you that confidence that actually, you know, that you can find that sort of happy place in your organisation, for example. And also to ask questions that, you know, sometimes we don't, although people say you can ask any question, sometimes there'll only be questions that we're going to ask to certain people and have those really honest conversations. So thank you. And Chelsea, what about Skyscanner?
Yeah, I feel like I've lost track of the question a bit. But I think, like, I look after the end-to-end process of everyone who applies with us. And we have like a rule, there's feedback within 2 to 3 days after every step that you take. And I'm also with you with every step you take. So our first stage of the interview process is a call with me, and the next stage is our assessment centre. That's in person, and travel's paid for to come and see us. And the reason for that is because you get a feel for our office, you get to meet other graduates. We have our current cohort who will come and like see you at lunchtime. The business comes and says hi. It's like quite exciting for us and for the graduates to come in. So yeah, we're super transparent from the get-go, really. So from what the process will entail, what feedback will look like, what our benefits and our salary packages are. And I think that's really important, is having that clarity and the transparency. It makes you feel a bit more comfortable, and yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. I hope that's answered your question, which was an excellent question, because that's the thing that most people, I think, are nervous, worried about the whole process of it. And from what I remember being in university, everyone would just talk about it, and then the pressure and the anxiety would get ratcheted up, so that you'd be like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? So thank you for asking that, because I'm sure there'll be lots of people who are thinking that at home. We've got about 5 minutes, so yeah, if you've got a quick question, we'll just get the microphone to you, just at the front here. We'll just give a really quick answer if possible. Yeah.
Sorry, I must have missed that during your introduction. I just want to know, what company do you work for?
I'm Skyscanner.
Rolls-Royce.
Ocado Group.
Thank you.
That was the
That was
quickest
an easy
question.
one.
Do that question, yeah.
That was the quickest question ever, but also like a great way to end, actually, because I was just going to say thank you so much to all of you and your organisation. So Chelsea, Ellie and Harpreet, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for, like I say, you know, not just from Target Jobs, but also from me as a clinician, as a doctor, as a broadcaster. I see so many people being impacted by their jobs, their workplace environment, how they're feeling, how mental health is dealt with and managed. So from me personally as well, thank you so much. Can we all give them a round of applause, please? Thank you.